Well, Queen requested a recipe. Queen, I know who I am. This recipe is for you, Goody. I hope you enjoy it.
You don't remember where you're coming from. You don't remember where you're coming from. You don't remember where you're coming from. Rastafari, why you turn your back on your brother when him need you? You don't remember the days when him feed you. You know when no obligation but you owe him some respect. All you need to do is just give him what you forget. Turn your back on your brother when him need you.
Now, let's jump right into this requested recipe. And all the amount for this recipe will be listed down below. Now, the things you will need for this recipe is really simple. You are definitely going to need vital wheat gluten for this recipe. Now, if you don't want to go vital wheat gluten, you could substitute that out for mushrooms, okay? So you could use some mushrooms for that as well, or you could just go straight vegetarian. You could even use tofu for this recipe, but for this particular recipe, I'm choosing to use vital wheat gluten. Now to that, I'm going to add my chickpeas. Now you want to make sure that your chickpeas is already cooked, nice and tender. You're going to measure a half cup of chickpeas. You're going to put it in your food processor, and you're going to make sure that you get that chickpeas nice and smooth like mashed potato, and that's when you know it's ready. Now, in addition to that, you have to have flavor when you're cooking vegan food. So you need some seasoned salt for this recipe. All-purpose season is what I'm using right there. I'm also going to add some garlic powder and onion powder. I'm also using white black pepper. If you don't have a white black pepper, use regular black pepper, but I like to use white black pepper for this recipe because it gives it a more mellow flavor. Now I'm also going to add a little bit of salt to give it extra flavor, and you definitely need your nutritional yeast for this recipe, and I am going to use 1 tablespoon to this particular recipe. Alright, so that's what you need to get this started. Let's just get this all mixed up and then we'll move on to the next step. And that looks really good. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the surface and knead it for a good 5 minutes. Alright, so now we're moving on to our next step. My pot is on the fire right there, and I'm going to go ahead and get my vital wheat gluten ready for cooking. It's going to be real simple. Flavor it up with a little bit of salt. Add some more of your favorite seasoned salt, whatever you like, all-purpose seasoning. And a few leaves of bay leaf in there. And put your vital wheat gluten in and allow that to cook for a good 45 minutes. Now we're moving on to our next step. We have our vegan meat going, so while that's going, we're going to go ahead and get our crust ready. So what I have there is 2.5 cups of banana flour. Now you can substitute that flour for whatever kind of flour that you want to use. You're also going to need those 2 cups of almond milk, okay? You're also going to need a teaspoon of salt. You're also going to need 1 cup of vegetable shortening and a ½ cup of vegan butter. And that's all you need to make this crust, the perfect crust in my Jamaican kitchen. You add your salt in. And you mix that in thoroughly. Gonna go ahead and add your vegan butter in, and then you're gonna add your vegetable shortening. With clean hands, you're gonna go ahead and break that up really good. Now that good fat from the vegetable shortening is going to make you some really, really good crust. So all you're doing here is breaking up that whole butter into that flour along with that vegetable shortening. Now after I get it looking pretty much like that, I'm going to go ahead and add some flour to my cutting board, and then I'm going to turn my dough out on top of that, and I'm going to work this in. I'm going to go ahead and get a plastic wrap or a Ziploc bag, and I'm going to go ahead and fold this real tight and nice, and I'm going to sit this inside my refrigerator for about a good half an hour, and we'll come right back. Alright, now my vegan meat all done. 45 minutes later that, you're going to take it off the fire, let it sit nice and cool, right? Then you're going to make sure you get a paper towel and pat dry into that and get some of that water where you use to cook it. I'm going to be putting the link below to show you how to make vegan meat at home. After you get done doing that, you just want to go ahead and cut it into your desired pieces where you need to make your recipe with. And that looks pretty good. Now we're moving on to our next step. You're going to go ahead and add your coconut oil. You're going to add your onions. Then you add your vegan meat. You're also going to add your beans to it. Some potatoes. Flavor it back with a little bit of salt. I'm going to add some parsley to it. Now you want to go ahead and add cornstarch or some of that banana flour or any flour that you was using before. Then I'm going to add my vegetable stock. And you're also going to add your almond milk. It's going to thicken up really, really well. You're going to turn this down on medium heat, and you're going to give this about 20 minutes. Shut the heat off, and then we'll move on to our next step. Now my dough is ready. You're going to need 3 things for this step. You're going to need your baking container you're going to use to bake your chicken pot pie in. You're going to need your dough, of course, and you need a rolling pin. Now after you've rolled your dough for about 4 to 5 times, you're going to cut them in 2, but you want to cut one side bigger than the other. Now your bigger portion is going to be on the bottom and the smaller portion is going to be on your top. Let's get the bigger part first. When you got it looking just like that, with your baking container, you want to go ahead and measure it. And you want to make sure it have at least an inch going around in a circle just like that to make it nice and perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and fill that in, that good yummy stuff. And then you're just going to level it down into the pie crust and set that aside. Now you're going to repeat the same step. Now now let your pie ready and all set for the oven. You're going to put this inside of a preheated oven only. Your oven should be on 350 degrees, and this pie is going to take 20 to 25 minutes to bake. So never sew the back right as so 20 to 25 minutes. Vegan chicken pot pie ready for the oven. Now look at that, y'all. Vegan chicken pot pie in my Jamaican kitchen, ready for the table. How many was that done? The ends are crispy. Nice. Look at that pie, guys. Look at that. Well, Queen requested a recipe. Queen, I know who I am. This recipe is for you, Goodie. I hope you enjoy it. If you're tuning in for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe, turn your notification settings on so you will not miss an upload. Thumbs up, like, and share. Let me know what you'd like to see me cooking next in my kitchen. And as always, from my kitchen to your kitchen, enjoy! I'm going to let this cook for a good 30 minutes on medium heat. Cover it up nice and make it simmer. And when it's done simmer, a time for eat. So see you back in a few minutes.
So this is in with your foundation, full coverage, you know, like bam. And last but not least, the last thing I tend to go for in my makeup collection is this palette right here. Let me show you what this baby looks like. It has a whole bunch of concealers. I believe it's $10 for this palette.